everyone, welcome back to my channel, Yahaira's Cozy Chapters. It's that time of the month where we talk about all the books we were able to read and all the books we wanted to potentially read but didn't quite get to. So here we are. As far as reading goes, I had a pretty average reading month. I kind of toggle between 4 to 6 books. I've never I've never read more than 6 books in a month just because my lifestyle at the moment is pretty busy. I have 4 kids and we're always kind of shuttling back and forth between sports, band, orchestra, just all the things, and just family time is like super important for us. But when I do get the chance to read, I definitely jump in and I read any moment that I can. So for the month of March, I was able to read, let's see, 4 books. I read 4 books. I was trying to squeeze in a 5th one, but it didn't really work out. The books that I was able to read this month, kind of many different genres. We have a little bit of dark romance. We have a YA novel, a debut YA novel, and then we have a book of the month, lit fic novel that was really good and really interesting, and it just exceeded my expectations. And then of course we read In Her Own League. That was on my Kindle. In Her Own League was just fabulous. But why don't we just jump right into it? Okay, so I would like to talk about, why don't we talk about a fun read? Let's talk about a quick fun read, which is Just Friends by Pham. She's a fellow content creator on YouTube, and she's got many followers, and this was a book that was talked about quite a bit before it came out, so I was really excited. I just recently got exposed to her content probably like a few months ago, and I just thought it was very refreshing, very genuine. And when I saw some of her content stating that she was going to write a book, I was like, whoa, that's super awesome for her. And just seeing the whole process of how a book is written was just amazing to watch. I'm gonna grab a sip of my coffee here. It says hello gorgeous. Look at that, because we all need that little positivity as soon as we wake up in the morning. My favorite coffee blend is Colombian. Never gone back to regular roast. If it's not Colombian or Brazilian or Cuban, I don't want it. But back to our book. So Just Friends. It's a quick read. It's about 300 or so pages. Really fun, really light. I know a lot of people have been having some, negative reviews about her book, which is valid. Everybody's entitled to their own opinions. I personally, when I went into this book, I tried not to go in with too many high expectations, just because I know that a lot of debut novels are not the best, and the authors typically grow from their first novel to their second novel and their third novel and their fourth novel. So I was just super excited for Haley that she was able to get a story that I'm sure she's had in her mind and on her heart for so many years finally put down on paper. For me, Just Friends was a 3-star read. It's a book that I would recommend, but it's not a book that I'm going to be thinking about day after day after day. It resonated with me in certain aspects. I did enjoy the characters, Blair and Declan. I love the setting of the story, which is Seabrook, and it definitely gave really cozy, really fun vibes. If you're looking for a book to read when you're lounging on the lake, or when you're going to the beach, or just in that mentality of like, oh, I want to unwind, this is definitely a good book to do that with. It bounces back from past and present, and then something really thoughtfully done that she did, which I enjoyed, is she was able to differentiate the past and the present in the beginning of each chapter with a really pretty drawing. One is like of a little private beach, and then when you go back into the past and the present, you get to see you know, we have the cottage here, which is really nice. Look how cute that is. I'm actually thinking about coloring it because it is so nice, but I don't want to mess up my book. So the beach, when you see the picture of the beach, they're in the past, and then when you see the picture of the cottage, they're in the present. Another thing I really enjoy about this book is she ends up working at a coffee shop, and I personally have always wanted to work at a coffee shop. I would probably be terrible at it because I don't know, I just don't feel like, I've never worked in the service industry, so I feel like it's something that I wouldn't be good at. But she ends up working at a coffee shop, and Declan is the manager of said coffee shop, which is really fun to watch. But yeah, I feel like overall the story was fun, you know, to people that, you know, are high school friends, really good friends. They had feelings for each other, but didn't really know if either of them should kind of touch upon those feelings because they didn't want to put their friendship in jeopardy. And I feel like a lot of people can identify with that because friendship is such a hard thing to come by. So for Blair specifically, that was something that was always on her mind. She always felt a slight attraction to Declan, but felt that why would he like me in return? She never felt that she was the type of person that he would normally have feelings for. And I think whenever we're all in that stage of life, when we're young and we're kind of doubting ourselves and we don't have the confidence that we acquire as we get older, that is something that we can all identify with. And then Declan is, you know, he starts off in his childhood as kind of like this awkward, nerdy guy. And then once he starts playing sports and winning, he starts playing football and starts winning championships. Everybody kind of starts seeing him in a different light, and he becomes this popular guy. But I feel like he never really sees himself as that really popular person. He always sees himself as that kind of nerdy guy that nobody really talks to. So I thought that was really interesting dynamic there. I really like the way that Haley depicted the relationship between Blair and her mother, just because in a Latino community, when we're growing up, it's definitely instilled in our minds that we have to work hard and we have to succeed in life. And we're constantly told of the sacrifices that were made in order for you to have the opportunity to go to school, or the opportunity to go to college, or the opportunity to just have more resources available to you than if you were to be still in another country. So I really resonated with that aspect with Blair and her mother. And even if her mother never really verbally said that to her, Blair felt that guilt of seeing her mother work so hard. And I could really identify with that because my mother growing up worked very hard. She had 3 daughters, and I can just remember her working super early in the morning to very late in the evening, sometimes even weekends. Sometimes she would have 2 or 3 jobs just to make ends meet as a single mother. So I really resonated with Haley on that. And I also loved her relationship with, what's it, Lottie? Oh, yes. I remembered a name. I'm usually terrible at names. So Lottie took Blair and her mother in when they had nowhere else to go. And that's another thing that kind of really touched my heart, because oftentimes strangers can show the most kindness than sometimes even your own family. So I really love that dynamic with Lottie and her mother and Blair, and just the way that they were just all so close, to the point where Blair just dropped everything to go be there with Lottie, even though her mother didn't want her to go and didn't want to bother her with any of that. So overall, I feel like the story was really good. You know, we had different complications. We had complications between Declan and his father, and just the things that Declan's father had planned for him and the expectations that he had. You know, I think also a lot of people can relate to that, growing up, either not quite meeting the expectations that your parents set for you, or wanting to do something different and not being able to kind of vocalize those wants and needs if you don't have anyone advocating for you. But unfortunately, Declan gets injured and is unable to continue with his football career. And that kind of also touches on the story of what he ends up doing with his life versus what his plans and goals were for his life. So, I mean, I think overall the story was really good. The writing, of course, wasn't fantastic writing because it is a debut novel, so we can give this novel some grace. There were some sentences that were a bit awkward to read, just in the nature of the words that were used. Some overly complicated words that were used in what in my opinion, were very simple sentences that did not need those complicated words. I had a few highlighted on here, but if you've read this book, I'm pretty sure you know what words I'm talking about and what sentences, and how it just kind of made the flow of the story a bit awkward. There was one part of the book that I got really upset with Blair, with her over being very gullible. She had just mentioned to Declan something about her never leaving and her trying to commit to a second chance with Declan. And then right away, she turns around and his mother tells her something, someone that she hasn't talked to in years and that she always kind of got a weird vibe from. She turns around and talks to his mother, and in those 5 seconds, she's already swayed to do the thing that she just told Declan she wasn't gonna do. Oh my gosh, that made me so angry. I literally had to put the book down and I had to take a walk about the room because I was like, girl, you just told Declan that you were in it, that you were going to try to do things differently. And I was very upset, but also I had to take a step back and realize that Blair in that moment, she's still grieving. When you're grieving, you're definitely not thinking straight, and things that people tell you kind of hit harder and make you really reconsider many things. So that was the one part of the book that I feel just made me go, like made me want to pull my hair out. But then once I got past that and I tried to understand more of Blair's mental space, I was able to kind of move past it. But like I said, if you're looking for a book that is quick, is fun, it does have a theme on grief, so if that's something you're really not wanting to read, it's not like boom, it just comes out of nowhere. It's like a recurring, kind of always there kind of grief. So yeah, pick this up. I give it 3 stars. I did like it. I didn't love it. I would still recommend it though. Good job, Haley, on your debut novel. Alright, now for my next read, we're kind of starting on the low end, and we're going to work our way up to like the best book that I read in the month of March. I did pick up Twisted Games. It is the second book of the Twisted series by Anna Huang, and I was on the fence of reading this book because a lot of the other books that I read in the Twisted series were just not for me, and they just didn't hit as good as her King of Sin series novels that she has out. But it was just still bugging me that I didn't finish the series, so I went ahead and picked up Twisted Games. Overall, I gave it 3 stars. I really didn't enjoy the story of Rice and Bridget. I felt like it just didn't do it for me as far as the plot, the storyline. I felt like I could kind of predict what was going to happen. And overall, to me, it just felt very cliche. In the love story, there wasn't anything very different about it. It was very well written. The FMC Bridget did have nice character growth from the beginning when she's in college, not really knowing what she wants to do out of life, to transferring over to her brother is going to abdicate the throne, and now she has to kind of, click something in her brain and step up and be the person that they need her to be for the family legacy to continue. The fact that her brother was going to abdicate, I don't know, kind of rubbed me the wrong way, that he had literally been training to be the royalty or the king. I don't remember if it's the king or the prince. It says her brother abdicates. She's faced with the prospect of love, but politically expedient marriage. Okay, so her brother was going to become the king. He had been training for it his whole life, and then just all of a sudden, now he wants to abdicate, and it all falls on her, and she has a small window of time to kind of learn all the protocols, which kind of made me feel like it's kind of silly to put all your eggs in one basket. I feel like she should have also been getting some knowledge of what it would take to be next in line for the throne. It just seems very weird to me that as a monarchy, I don't remember the name of the kingdom or where they lived, but it just kind of feels kind of weird that they wouldn't have a backup plan or a backup protocol. What if something had happened to her brother? What if he had passed away? What if he would have gotten in a bad accident and not abdicated? Who would have been second in line to the throne? It would have still been her because her brother wouldn't have had any children at that point. So I don't know. I just did not enjoy the story very much. It did have quite a bit of spice, just kind of all over the place spice. Some was really good read, was fun, but some of it I was like, oh, we could do without. So 3 stars for me. Really don't want to waste more time talking about this book. And Huang, all your other books though are awesome. Thank you so much for writing your awesome books, and I'm really looking forward to King of Gluttony, which is coming out soon. Yay! All right, so that's a 3-star. So far we have 2 3-star books. Now on to the next one. We have In Her Own League, which was such a fantastic read. I'm so glad I picked this book up. I wasn't really sure if I was going to pick it up or not, because I have only read one of her other books, which is Caught Up from the Windy City series, and I just ate it up. I loved it. Caught Up was a 5-star read for me. But I was like, hey, I heard a lot of good things about this book, and the fact that it was a spin-off, the original series, made me want to read it. And then when I read the summary for it, I was hooked. I was like, I need to read this. It's a strong female role, and it's age gap, which I don't normally gravitate towards, but I was like, hey, we're going to give it a shot, and boy, was I not prepared for what I read. It was just amazing. I loved everything about it. So it's between Reese, who is the new owner of the baseball team, I believe. I'm not a huge sports girl, so forgive me if I say the wrong thing about baseball or anything. So I believe she's the owner of the Chicago Warriors baseball team. Don't quote me on that. Don't come at me if that's wrong. But so she's a new owner, and then she's the first female to be the owner of a team. And then Monty, whose name is actually Emmett Montgomery, but they call him Monty. Monty is the coach, the lead coach of the team. And he's already hesitant that there's going to be a new owner because he knows usually they just have a business mind and they want to start making their mark and they want to do budget cuts and all of that business front. But then when they meet, they feel the attraction right away. But she knows that she can't even think about on her employees in that way. So it's just this whole turmoil of what they're feeling, and that they definitely can't, give into the feelings that they have for each other. So it's just a fantastically written novel. Liz Tom 40, I don't know what you put in your books, but it makes me just want to gobble them up. So definitely a 5-star read for me, In Her Own League. If you haven't read it yet, read it. Monty, or what Reese calls him, which is M, which I thought was really sweet. His name is Emmett, and she calls him M. She doesn't call him Monty. I thought that was the best, and just the way, the banter that they have, just their romantic interactions with the big moments, but also the little moments, was really nice to read. He's her biggest support, and he reminds her of all the things that she's capable of doing on the days that she second guesses herself. And I think it's really important for everybody to have a partner that supports you in everything that you do, that doesn't throw it in your face when you make mistakes. So I love Monty's character in this book because he was always there for her, reminding her of the things that she needed to be thinking about in order to succeed. And he was even willing, I don't want to spoil too much, but he was even willing to make changes within his own life to be with her and to make sure that she got everything that she wanted to be happy. So if you haven't read it already, In Her Own League, 5-star read for sure. Now the book that surprised me the most this month is Love is an Algorithm. I chose it from my Book of the Month subscription. I was really back and forth on if I was going to choose this book or if I was going to choose another one that's called, I believe, This Book Could Save Your Life. But the more I kept reading the summary of each book, I felt like the summary of Love is an Algorithm really spoke to me because it was different. It was a unique take on romance, and I don't know, I was just in the mood for something different. So I went ahead and picked it up. It's Love is an Algorithm by Laura Robson. And the main characters in this book, and I say main very loosely because this is a very character-driven book versus plot-driven. So there's many characters in the book that are really fleshed out. So is that something that you like reading? Definitely pick this book up. This is a 4-star read for me. It didn't quite make it to the 5-star. And then I'm going to tell you why and a reason. But first I'm going to start with the things that I did enjoy about this book. I love the fact that they focused on the dynamics between multiple characters, and it was written very well. The prose of this book was just so fun to read. Eve, the main character, I was going to call her something else, but Eve, the main character, she's a musician slash songwriter, and she finds herself living a life that she's not happy in. She's living in Colorado with her boyfriend. She's living in Colorado with her boyfriend Fletcher, and she's just constantly asking herself the questions of, is this the kind of life that I want to live? And she keeps making these lists of, I should break up with Fletcher because list, or I should not break up with Fletcher because this, or she's just constantly making these lists, and you can tell that she wants to make a change, but she can't fully take on that belief. So then something happens in her life that forcefully causes her to make a change. I won't tell you what that is because it's really funny and I want you to interact with that scene on what really causes her change. Well, funny in a sense because actually it was kind of like something bad that happened. But that makes her see life as more precious, and she doesn't want to waste any more time doing the things that she was doing. And then she even goes on to write a song. I thought this part was really funny. She continues, my leg's falling asleep. she continues to write a song about Fletcher that got really popular, and then he was really upset about it, which kind of reminded me of Taylor Swift in the way that she writes all these songs about her ex-boyfriend. So I was like, yes, Queen, you write that song. And he was like, I don't want you to write that song. And she's like, well, they're not going to know that it's about you. And he's like, yeah, but I'm going to know that it's about me. I just thought that was so funny. And then she's like, but it's my craft, it's my song, it's not about you. They won't know it's about you. So they're just back and forth on that. So then we have our other character, which is Danny. And now Danny is quite different from Eve in the sense that he overthinks everything, and he's constantly trying to figure out what he needs to be doing, or is he doing enough, not doing enough. And one of the main reasons why I gave this book 4 stars instead of 5 is because just living in Danny's mind with all his self-doubt and all his self-deprecation and his anxiety, it was so daunting to read it. And it's I would say it's a pretty short book. It's about 400 and something pages, but I found myself having to put it down and just kind of step back, digest, and take a breath, because it was, how do I put this? It was a bit draining, and it was a bit exhausting in the sense that he was just all over the place with his anxiety and stress, and I'm a overthinker myself, and then just adding his overthinking onto mine, it was just a bit much. But also the way that Eve's dialogue is in the book, it's kind of like all over the place. She would start with one topic, and then she would jump to another topic, and then, that would lead to another topic, and it was just kind of like talking to that friend that has a million things going on at the same time. So I had to kind of take a step back, but overall, I really enjoyed the story. If you're looking for a love story that's character-driven and not so much plot-driven, with, excellent writing, and it does go back into the past and into the present, but it's not very hard to follow. The format of the chapters are really different as well. So each chapter will start with like a nice picture with little doodles on it, and then it'll, like Ski Rat, that was the name of the song that went famous. So it'll have like that, and then it'll just say it'll say like 1, 2, and 3, and then that'll be the end of that particular chapter. And then the next one, I'll have that, and then, so I don't know, it felt like it was going by really quick just because of the format of the book, which wasn't like really long chapters, which I thought was really cool. You get lots of text messaging and AI messages format in the book, which is really interesting. I'm not really used to reading that. But if you're looking for something different, like I said, and you don't really know what, this is a really good book. It has a lot of introspective and philosophical writing that really makes you kind of take a step back and think, oh, right, that makes sense. And then makes you kind of reflect on your own life and the things that you think are important and the things that you could potentially change. So if you're looking for something different, it's a 4-star for me, but it might be a 4-star for you. Love is an Algorithm by Laura Robson, and she also has other books. She has 2 YA novels, and she has another adult fiction book. I'm trying to remember what the name is of her other book that she wrote. What was it? Can't recall off the top of my head. But she does have two YA novels, and then she has one other book that she wrote. Oh, that's what it was. Okay, so let's see. No, that was a different book that she wrote there. Anyways, I don't remember, but I'll throw those up here or in the description box of the other books that she's read, or that she wrote, not read. I'm sure she read them as well because she wrote them, but the 2 other YA novels that she wrote, and I think I'm going to be checking out her other novels. Not right now. I probably will hold off a little bit on it because I want to explore other books that I want to get into. But yeah, those were my 4 reads for the month of March. There they go, hold them together. Whee! Look how cute they look. So colorful, so springy. So tell me what books you've read in the month of March, and if you enjoyed them, if you didn't. What movies do you want to watch? You know, in April or May or June, or what you've been watching on repeat, or what shows you've been watching on repeat. I'm not really a big show person just because my life is so busy. I have to kind of decide if I want to do books or shows, and typically I pick books. But movies that I want to watch, I have them written down here so I don't forget. Some movies that I want to watch that are about to come out is the new Super Mario Brothers movie. I'm going to watch that with my kids. I still haven't watched Wuthering Heights, but I want to watch it. There's a Scream 7 movie that's coming out that I used to love watching all the Scream movies in the past, so I kind of want to watch that. I'm probably going to hate it, but I want to give it a little try. And then Ready or Not 2, which is like a comedy or horror. I don't normally gravitate towards horror movies, but my husband really likes horror movies, so we'll probably make that a date night or something like that. I also want to watch Project Hail Mary. I didn't read the book, but I don't think I'm going to be able to get around to reading the book, so this might be a rare situation where I watch the movie first, and then later, if I get around to it, read the book. So we'll see. Oh, also, if you haven't watched the movie Hoppers, it's an animated movie. I took my son to go watch it, and I took my Kindle, because usually when I don't like a movie that I take my kids to go watch, I just read on my Kindle. But I really liked it, and I didn't even take my Kindle out once, and I was laughing the whole time. Literally, that movie, Hoppers, and I'll put the little picture of what the trailer looks like here. It was so funny. It made me cry, made me laugh. It even had a little bit of like scary part in it, but not too scary, just kind of like, whoa, what is that type of scary. But yeah, definitely go watch it. Hoppers, it's such an underrated movie. I took my son to go watch it, and I really enjoyed it a lot. The messages in the movie is really nice too. It talks about nature and our connection to nature and how everything has to have a balance. And also talks a little bit about grief as well. But it's done in such a beautiful way where even children would understand and adults would find a deeper meaning into it. But yeah, that's pretty much what I did, what I read in March, and the movies that I'm looking forward to watching. Thank you so much for watching my video. I will talk to you guys again soon when we pick all of my April TBRs. Have an awesome one. Try to get outside and enjoy some beautiful weather. If you have beautiful weather here in Texas, it's getting really nice. So we'll talk to you guys soon.